Karin Maessen. Please. That was due to her brother Marcel's arranging, as was almost all of this stuff. Marcel really went out of his way to put this whole show together. Karin Maessen, most of you will be happy to know, this kid from QEH is fast approaching her 40th birthday. She was born shortly before Christmas in 1957, while other kids were watching their first televisions to arrive in the province. Karin, when she wasn't taking ballet lessons, was out playing. Karin, competition to Karin started out to be fun, never ceased to be fun. Her brother Marcel remembers his baby sister Karin once talking all week about an upcoming game in which she was to play. Supper after the big day was an interesting affair. Marcel said, who won? She responded, I think we did. Then he asked her, how many points did you get? She laughed out loud. She responded, I don't know, silly. Didn't take little Karin long to make her mark in provincial sport. When she was 10, she swam for the Halifax YMCA Otters, along with Susan Mason and Nancy Garapick. They're both in that picture. Two teammates who stuck with swimming and have preceded her into this Hall of Fame. The coach had them weight training and doing other types of preparatory exercise in addition to the swimming they did in the pool. That coach was Karin's mom. Karin set a provincial record of 138.2 in the 100-yard breaststroke. Her reason for leaving swimming, unfortunately, was tragic. Her mom died, and despite her dad's attempt to take over the coaching as well as the other roles her mom had played, the associations were too painful, the fun was gone, and Karin basically threw herself into other things. The habits of weight training and general conditioning stayed with her for the whole of her life, and she credits those habits with her remaining relatively injury-free throughout her athletic career. She's not a woman with limitless talent, just one who dives into everything with great gusto. Her teammates remember the only thing worse than Karin's guitar playing is when she accompanies her guitar playing with her singing. Her version of Bobby McGee, they say, which she sings until they jump her and wrest the instrument from her hands, is recognizable only by the words. They all remember her as inspirational as well. Inspirational when they appreciated it on the night of a big game, but which wore a little thin when they were exhausted, especially hard practices, at which point they hated little Miss Boing Boing here, who used to keep bouncing up to the coach and begging for more. In 1971, at 14, she won a gold medal in the 4x100 meter relay at the Eastern Junior Canadian Track and Field Championships held in Mississauga. In 76, she entered the NSSAF School Track and Field Championships at Baisley Field and took home a first-place ribbon from her part in the relay and 4 other first-place ribbons in individual events. Karin has 11 AUAA medals and a CIAU medal as well. She won a bronze, 4 silver, and 6 golds in AUAA meets held in 76 and 1980. Her CIAU medal came in 1981. These totals would have been far larger, of course, had she not been involved These totals would have been far larger had she not been involved doing a few other things. That's the only running slide I could get. Sorry. Her midget 800-meter time of 2:10.2 when she was 14 years old was the fastest ever recorded in the province. It's hard to imagine Karin limiting herself to just running, so don't. While at QEH, someone taught her how to throw the javelin. She went out to the next meet, threw it 111 feet 10 inches, which turned out to be yet another provincial high school record. First meet, less than a week after she'd been shown how to throw the damn thing. Of course, track had competition for Karin's time. Bob Caldwell used to drive around every weekend in his old Bobcat, pick up kids and take them down to Alexander's school to teach them basketball. Karin still looks back at that start as the real basis for the basketball skills she and a number of other kids developed. Those skills must have been considerable since she made the Nova Scotia and Maritime All-Star teams in 1972 and 1973. She was good enough in 74 to be named the most valuable player in the first ever St. Mary's Invitational High School basketball tournament. In 1975, she was the first recipient of the Jane White Memorial Trophy, awarded the most valuable player in the Metro AAA Basketball League. 1976 was a good basketball year for Karin. She was a tournament all-star in the St. Patrick's AAA Basketball Invitational. She was voted basketball MVP at QEH. She won the Metro League MVP once again. She was chosen the most valuable player in the NSSAF AAA tournament. She only dabbled in basketball for her post-high school years, but despite never practicing the sport, she was good enough in postseason play to be named Basketball Nova Scotia's Female Senior Player of the Year in 1980 and be selected as a tournament all-star in the Canadian Senior Women's Basketball Championships of 1981. Karin Maessen was named the Female Athlete of the Year when she graduated from QEH because she was the best track star they had, she was the best basketball player they had, and she was the most valuable player on their volleyball team. Nova Scotia's volleyball administrators outmaneuvered the basketball administrators, and Maessen became a nationally carded athlete in volleyball. The other sports she loved were pushed into virtual oblivion as she directed her major training efforts to improving her already considerable volleyball abilities. International opponents would eventually come to wish she'd chosen a sport other than their own. As early as her days at QE, she developed a fierce grimace every time she went to serve. She'd stare hard and long at someone, and then serve up a ball which danced at them in much the same way a knuckleball comes into a batter. If that didn't put the fear of God into her, Karin would spike the ball down her throat a few times just to establish the pecking order. She led Team Nova Scotia in the Canada Games and into a bronze medal in the Canadian Juniors in 1975. She still has the bronze medal her senior team secretaries won at the Eastern Canadian Senior Tournament and a gold medal her Air Atlantic Aces won the following year. Maessen saw the world with the Canadian team, or more accurately, she's seen the world's airports and gyms. But her great team successes and consequent rewards came here at home at the CIAUs, that's the Canadian National Championships. Her university career is tough to decipher because she began her rookie year in 1976. Then she went away to train and play with the national team for several years before returning to finish her education. Her rookie year at Dal was especially interesting because despite the respect she was accorded as the best player on the team, she lacked the wherewithal of the older players. The team travel dress code demanded as a minimum that a pair of nice slacks and a dressy sweater be worn whenever they went on the road. Karin, the old clothes horse, really impressed the older players when she showed up at their initial trip to Quebec in old corduroy pants and one of her brother Marcel's ratty sweaters. Before the second trip that year, the senior players dragged Karin on a Frenchies run. They bought her a whole new outfit. As nice as she looks tonight, it must be admitted that there are very few people that travel as much as she does whose wardrobe can be markedly improved by a shopping trip to Frenchies. Once she returned to Dal, the individual awards started coming in pretty furiously. She was named First Team All-Canadian 1980, 1981, 1982. It's easy to spit that stuff out very quickly. She was twice a CIAU Tournament All-Star, once the CIAU Tournament's Most Valuable Player. In 1982, she was named Canada's Outstanding Volleyball Player of the Year. Karin Maessen, ladies and gentlemen, spent most of her life in team sports, and these individual honors sink into oblivion in her eyes when compared to the experience she had in the 1982 CIAU National Championships. Of course, before Dal could look forward to national success, they had to win the AUAAs. Because of a bad flu, Karin was confined to the house during all of the preparatory time leading up to the league championships. She did manage to send cookies and other goodies into practice every day to let the team know she was still alive, and to let them know they should work at least as hard as when she was there pushing them, and to let them know that she'd be there come match time. Practice or no, Karin came out of her sickbed with a vengeance. Anyone who has ever seen her play knows that any ball that hit the floor anywhere on her side of the net, she took as a personal insult. She could frequently be seen digging a shot up from the right backhand corner on the court one play and the front left-hand corner on the next play. Partly because she just spent the week in bed, and partly to keep her from poaching shots which other very able Dow players could handle, and mostly because Moncton had a big hitter whose best shot was to smash the ball down the line. Coach McGregor told her when she was in the back row, her only assignment was to dig these balls which would be definitely coming down the sideline. This she was to do by virtue of straddling that line in preparation for the expected smash. First time the situation arose, Karin anticipated the ball was going to go to mid-court. She started in that direction. Shot, of course, went where McGregor had predicted it would go. Maessen took a dive from 8 feet away, made contact, but missed the shot, sliding in the process right over to the bench in front of the now irate coach. Those of us who saw that game will never forget Karin looking up sheepishly, hiding her face with her left hand and with her right hand giving a cute little wave. She behaved herself the rest of the match, and Dow won their way into the CIAU championships, which were slated to be held at home in the Dowplex. Mason's doctor permitted her to practice twice only in the week leading up to the finals. Team fought their way through the tougher of the two brackets and found themselves facing favored Calgary in the championship game. Dow had a very deep squad, which had been well prepared by 4 out-of-region tournaments, none of which they won, by the way. In addition to Karin and several well-seasoned veterans, they had another national team player in Karen Fraser. Number 1 ranked Calgary had 3 national team players on a team which had competed in several big tournaments during the year and had won most of them. Excitement was great as the largest crowd ever to watch volleyball in the Maritimes saw Dow and Calgary split the first 4 games 2-2. On every point there was a din and then absolute silence when the ball was served. Much to the delight of the mostly local fans, Dow jumped out to an early lead, went rather quickly to 13-5, and appeared as if they were going to waltz right through to the 15th and championship point. Calgary would have none of that. They started chipping away at what had first seemed quite a formidable lead. Calgary scored 6 unanswered points. Many people here can vouch for the unbelievable tension in the air, a tension which became greater and greater as the game got closer and closer. With the score at 14-11, Brenda Turner made a beautiful pass to her nibs here, and this 3-time All-Canadian, who had not missed a shot for the whole of the tournament, prepared to set Karin Moore for what would be the game-winning spike. Maessen got herself in perfect position as she had perhaps millions of times before, and the ball went right through her hands and hit her in the face. The mistake was met with total silence. Disbelieving audience didn't know what to do. The other Dow players sat in utter disbelief as they stared at the volleyball equivalent to mighty Casey striking out. Maessen looked at her teammates, she looked at her coach, she looked up at the fans, and she giggled.